Hello, people who are jumping in. This is the last presentation before we start closing those semester um, competition forms. So if you are wanting to jump into the competition, your last day is October 1st for those semester colleges. But do remember, for those ones that are in a quarterly system, you have until October 10th. So use that time, prepare, and make sure you're attending the next session that will be happening Friday. We'll be having this presentation as 30 minutes long. I know that you guys are expecting maybe an hour-ish, but due to some changes in the timing and everything, this will only be 30 minutes or so. So not as much time to enjoy your favorite snacks, but hopefully you guys will get some good information out of this. We'll be doing this over the pitch competition, and this is a very integral part of any entrepreneur. Is how to effectively deliver their idea to those who are investing. And here we have the wonderful Kyle Barber, who will be doing the workshop on pitch. So I'm going to pass it straight over to you, Kyle. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Dylan. Hello, everyone. I am Kyle Barber, and I work at Bellevue College. We're in the Seattle area. I am the program chair of both the digital marketing department and the data analytics department. And I have been teaching for about 6 years. Before that, I worked in New York City, working for a number of large ad agencies such as McCann and Razorfish, Starcom Media, working for large clients like Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, MasterCard. But I grew up here in Seattle. I wanted to come back home, and I've really enjoyed getting into teaching. One of the things that I think set me apart as the instructor is not only do I teach in these two areas, but I coach our school's speech and debate team, and I also coach our national championship DECA team. So I'm spending a lot of time with students, working with them on how to present, how to get information across in a way that effectively helps them make their case, win business, sell their idea. And I'm going to go over some of those concepts with you guys today, particularly how it relates to giving presentations over video conference, and also thinking about how do we adapt to like a case study competition. So here is a quick agenda for what I'm planning to go over today. Just really thinking, how are you going to frame that pitch for your audience, whether that's investors or clients, or in your case study competition judges. I want you to be thinking about how to understand your audience. So really thinking about what is their agenda, what's the motivations of your audience. I really want to talk about the importance of employing secondary and primary research, which is an area I find a lot of students often discount or forget to do, and it really hurts them in their presentations. And then finally, the bulk of this, I really want to talk about communication styles and techniques that will really help you make an impact with your audience and hopefully close the deal. So you win the business, you get buy-in, you get the assignment, whatever that may be. So let's get right into this. I'm sure some of you have watched the show Shark Tank, particularly since you're signing up for an entrepreneurial competition. And, you know, there's good things and there's bad things about this show. As far as reality TV show goes, it's one of the few that I think actually might have some, real value in helping to educate people and think a little bit more about business. But there's some contrived parts about it too. But I still like to ask students to consider watching that show, because I think it's really good for them to see how do people go in front of a group and ask them to buy into an idea. Specifically on Shark Tank, they're speaking to investors and they're trying to solicit money to fund their new entrepreneurial idea. So it's very similar to a lot of the things that you'll be doing in this particular competition. So when I talk about Shark Tank in my classes, I'll ask students, hey, tell me what you think works well on Shark Tank. Who are the people that do really good presentations? The most common answer I'm going to hear from students is, well, the people that show up, they've got a good idea. Either your idea is good or it sucks, and that's really going to make or break whether you do well in the competition. Now, it's certainly true, you need a good idea. But I think if you're talking to some of the more clever students, the ones that are a little more astute, they're going to say, well, they have a clear understanding of why their particular idea is really distinct and different. Why is this idea needed? And then I have a couple of students in the class that tend to be, have got a little side hustle going on, and they're making some money while they're going to school. And usually they're the ones that'll speak up really quickly and say, well, they need to have a sense of valuation. It's all about money. And in the case of Shark Tank, that's largely what it comes down to, because it is about investment. So they want to know not only how much money you can make, but how much is it going to cost to execute this? Really thinking through all those operational elements. And more important than that, it's just also like not just what does it take today, but where are you going to be going in the future? Do you have a clear understanding of like what the long-term plan for making money is going to be? Because if you were asking someone to gamble money, they need to know that you've got a clear understanding of valuation and thinking about that story. So there's a lot of different ways to think about what makes a successful pitch in this situation. And we're going to borrow a lot of those ideas as we think about what might be good for this presentation for the case study competition. As you're thinking about how to frame your pitch, there's a couple of key ideas I want you to really focus on. The first one is the idea of you need to inspire. And if you've ever taken a public speaking class, which is pretty common for most college students, you know that you've been asked like, hey, don't just launch into your speech and say, now I'm talking about this, but rather you provide some kind of attention getter that will bring the audience in and make them excited to hear about what you've got to say. That's used no matter what kind of public speaking you're doing, not just giving a pitch. But there's sometimes a downside to these attention getters because a lot of times they might be a little gimmicky. They might be kind of used just for show, showing off and trying to gain attention, but not really clue us into what this presentation is about. And so I want you to watch out for that. You're not just trying to shock, you're trying to clue people into what you're going to be talking about and make it connect to them. Another suggestion you'll hear in a lot of public speaking classes is the idea of using emotion. And that really works well because, you know, when we as an audience can empathize with you, when you kind of humanize your subject and you pull us in, it really can help us be open to the idea of what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to persuade us about. So I like the idea of using empathy, but I would say you want to use that sparingly, because if you do too much of it, if you're just telling like emotional, sad stories about little Joe and the problems he faced, well, that can turn off the person who's really like, hey, I want to hear the specifics. I want to invest some money in you. I need to know what you're bringing to the table. How much is this going to cost me? How much risk am I facing? So you want to kind of balance that and really know your audience. I think anytime that you are doing communications in business, you're going to want to employ the idea of storytelling. And for some people, they roll their eyes at this like, oh, no, not storytelling again. But if you really look at good marketing these days, if you're thinking about how a good TED Talk goes, whatever kind of presentation you might be seeing, there are these storytelling elements that definitely create a connection between the speaker and the audience. You know, when we were young, most of us were told stories in some fashion, whether someone read books to us or we read books ourselves, whether we heard it through like an oral tradition. In some way, information was passed on to us in that sense. And it's a very reassuring, very human experience to have that kind of connection back and forth. That's why storytelling is even greater than just having an emotional component. It's a well-crafted sequence of ideas that help draw in the listener. And if you're going to be doing a storytelling, I really want to suggest that you're not just thinking about telling a compelling narrative, but really you're thinking about cut to the chase of why does this matter? Make sure the story you're presenting helps set up not only what your product or service is, but what makes it distinctly different and why will it resonate with consumers and why will it be a smart investment, because you know that as it resonates with consumers, it will drive revenue. So before you come up with like the intro to your speech, you really want to kind of do some of that core work of what you're going to be presenting to the audience. You figure out your points of differentiation, figure out positioning, which I know was talked about in one of the previous seminars in the series. You really want to have that clear sense of what our position is, what's our, differentiation that really sets us apart from the competitors, and make sure that that informs your introduction. Okay, so besides needing to inspire, clearly you need an idea. You can't really come into this competition unless you have a clear understanding of what you have to offer. Now that seems pretty straightforward, but it's amazing to me when I'm teaching students who are doing entrepreneurship and they're trying to articulate a new idea to me. They go in circles. I can have what's supposed to be one sentence becomes almost like two paragraphs in this long, stretched out sentence. And I have no idea what you're selling me. I really can't understand what you're bringing to the table. Students often feel that, oh, I have this idea in my head, and I go, it's this, and it's this, and it's this. No, you can't have those many two things. You need a succinct idea that's really clear. So I encourage you, make sure you write down a single sentence and tell me exactly what it is you have to offer. It won't contain every element. It won't feature everything I need to know about your business, but it's really going to help me set up the beginning of this pitch. Because if I can't quickly tune in to what it is that you're offering, I'm going to lose interest and my mind is going to start to drift. It's normal for the human mind to lose attention, and the judges are people too. So you've got to make their job easy and help them hone in on what you're talking about. A lot of times also, just going in circles and telling me too much information, but students can be vague. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to do this kind of like coffee thing, and it's going to be really great, and we're going to be selling, some of the best coffee, and yeah, so we're going to have great customer service. Now, it's good that you have a high quality coffee product. It's great that you have good customer service, but is there really some point of differentiation that's clear and easy for me to understand that will help to understand why should we be putting money into this idea? Why is this truly different? Why does this actually solve the needs of consumers that they're not getting somewhere else? So you don't want to be vague, have that clear understanding. You really need to know your competitive set, because as you think about where you fit in to the position of all the other players in this space, it's going to make a big difference in how you set up your story. I want to make sure that you really are not just saying, well, we're not this, we're not that, but we're this, but rather understand those points of where the others are at and speak about their position, not just list a bunch of names. We're not so and so, we're not this, but articulate who they are, what position do they hold in the marketplace, and why is your position distinct and different? You really need to have a reason to exist as a company beyond the product. So there's lots of writing about this. We know that social justice, we know that understanding about companies giving back and having a greater purpose than making money is so important, particularly when we're thinking about resonating with millennials and Gen Z audience. It's not just paying lip service and doing a press release that says, yay, we care about the environment. It's much more about how every step of the way you're taking actions as a company that shows a commitment towards those values. Because a lot of people these days are making their decisions based upon who that corporate culture is, and is it aligned with their values? It's a big part of the decision process. So you need to really be thinking about what are some of the commitments we're going to make as a corporate culture, and think about how does that further flesh out the story of who we are as a company. And really think about what is our company vision, what is our company mission, and more importantly, how does that ladder up to telling a brand story? Okay, in the previous seminar done by Albert, whose last name I can't remember at the moment, he talked about the importance of a value proposition. And I really like that he mentioned this, and I know it was also brought up in the second speech. I think it was by Vivian. So this idea of a value proposition, this is coming from the work of Alexander Osterwalder, who created a business canvas model. This is a follow-up book he created specifically about the value proposition design. We use this textbook in our classes here at Bellevue College when we're teaching about entrepreneurship and thinking about product design. It's a terrific framework because it's really giving you specific hands-on ideas about how you can go about creating something that's unique and different. So I would really encourage you to check out that book and maybe talk about that with your group members. It'll give you some solid ideas on really articulating what you're bringing to the table. When you have a value proposition, you're describing your customer situation. What are the responsibilities that they hold in their current lives or in their jobs? And what are they looking for when they're looking at a product or a service that you might offer? What are pains that they feel? So these are um, real challenges they face, and those pains are impacting their decision making, as well as the gains they hope to get. If you've got a great solution that's the right fit for them, how will adopting your solution give them benefits that will improve their life? The book's also talking about these customer jobs. So this is the things that we specifically need to get done in our jobs or in our lives. So if you go through this book, it's asking you to really kind of think through what are those jobs that we do, the pains that we experience, the gains that we hope to get from a proposed solution. And then you rank them by importance. Going through that process is a really great hands-on activity that you can do to get to this point of positioning sooner. This is just thinking about things from your world, but a lot of those pains that the consumers are experiencing are in direct response to the kind of opportunities or solutions that are available currently in the marketplace, or a lack of solutions, and then why they need you to come in and provide a better solution. So I think it's really good to explore that book and think about some of the ideas they're talking about. Okay, so those are some of the things you can do to think about setting up your pitch. I want to talk about understanding your audience, so thinking about agendas and motivations. So anytime you are giving a pitch, or let's be honest, every time you're doing any kind of public speaking, there's some element of it where you're trying to persuade. And I think a lot of us sometimes feel apologetic. It's like, well, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to try to say, this is how you should think, this is how you should feel. But the truth is, you are making a case. You are coming forward in front of your judges, and you're trying to get them to see things the way that you see them. So a big part of your success will be buying into the idea that I am here to persuade the audience. I think younger speakers, college-age students, often think, well, my job is really to go in and to inform the audience. Let me tell them about things. Here's what's going on. We're going to do this, and this has happened in the space, and here's other information. And they just share facts and figures, like, here's what we know, here's what was done. And they're not spending enough time doing analysis, which leads to making a strong recommendation of, like, here's what we should do next. It is our recommendation to take this step. So I want you to really understand the difference between those two speaking styles and lean into the idea of being a persuasive speaker. You really also have to be able to quickly get to the problem. I think oftentimes when I hear speeches, I'm hearing a lot of people immediately trying to sell, like, this is what we got to offer. This is going to be great. You're going to love our product. Our service is amazing. You really want to buy this. And they're pushing so hard the idea of what we bring to the table. They're forgetting to approach this as a problem solution type speech. Your job is not to be so self-serving, to not go in right away and say, choose us, we're the right one, we should win this competition. Rather, you want to go in and say, hey, we want to give you some background about a situation. And oh, now that you know more about it, you can clearly see this is a problem. And the great news is we have thought about it, and we have an approach to thinking about how to solve that problem. It's not about you. It's not about you talking about what you're bringing to the table. You're merely showing, I am a capable researcher. I have a solid understanding of the landscape. I know what's going on. And therefore, I'm able to come in as a good listener, articulate that problem, and then propose a way that we might go about solving that problem. That's going to make your audience so much more receptive to hearing what you have to say and thinking about how you're going to come to that solution and why they should give you the business. Okay. Now let's talk about some specific audiences and different things that they might need to hear. So, I went too far. At the very beginning, we talked about Shark Tank, and we talked about the idea of speaking to investors. Well, what's going on here? You're basically asking them to hand over money to you. That's a tough ask, right? So obviously you're going to need to be thinking about instilling a lot of confidence in you and your team. Like the reason, we should be trusted with your money is this. Like I said in the previous slide, you're not starting off with who you are and how great you are, but you really demonstrate, I understand the situation. I my clear understanding of things gives me credibility to come and speak to the space. And you kind of quickly get into, now let's think about the real financial situation. And because when you do that, it's easier for them to imagine you gambling with their money because you're already talking about what are the potential risks. Here is the high return on investment that they can get if they're willing to do business with you and trust you. I think it's really important that you have a full understanding of the competitive landscape. I think students are often very literal and they think in terms of like, oh, if I am Starbucks, I am competing with other coffee stands. When in truth, Starbucks is competing as a place to kick back, relax. It's your third location. It's a way to get away. And like the example I put here on the slide, Uber, yeah, they definitely compete against Lyft, but actually they're kind of competing with all of the car companies because you're seeing more and more younger consumers are like considering the possibility of, do I need to even own a car or can I just use other services to get me from point A to point B? I think you really need to think about those operational issues and distribution. I think a lot of that's not so fun. And when we're doing the theoretical projects like this case study is, it's easy to kind of like say, well, we'll get to that someday. If I were an investor, if I had any unanswered questions about that, I'm going to lose confidence in you. So you really do need to think about those things. Even if you don't have all the answers spoken about it, you need to talk about how are you going to get to those answers? What is our commitment to knowing that landscape fully so your money is safely invested with our team? And I think it's absolutely essential that your team is talking about branding. Now, of course, I'm not objective about this. I'm a marketing teacher, but I think it's so important in the world today where consumers are not just buying your product or your service, but really they're choosing to be part of your tribe or not be part of your tribe. When people love products, they give in fully. I mean, you look at how enthusiastic some people are about Apple or Tesla. These are products where people are just in a way, the product, the company almost defines them as one of their personality traits, which seems a little crazy to me, but it's the truth. You're seeing that people buy into being part of a branded community. So as you're thinking about who we are and what we bring to the table, that story really needs to come out in presentation. So I would definitely encourage you to read up a little bit on branding and think about how do you incorporate that into your presentation. If instead of speaking to investors, your particular situation, you're imagining speaking more to clients, well, this is a little different situation. You are really trying to come in as this prospective team and you let them know that, hey, you can trust us to handle your business. We're not doing such a hard sales pitch because it's more, we kind of come in a little bit as equals. I'm not asking you for your money right away, even though eventually I'm going to get some money from you, but more so I'm just kind of saying, I think I've got a good understanding of who you are and how we can come in and partner with you. So you're going to do that background research. You're going to understand who they are as a company, what are the challenges they face. You know what the competitive landscape is like. Most importantly, you really know how consumers are thinking. Because a lot of times companies know that they need to make change. They know that other companies are changing. They're feeling frustrated because like we got to have some different strategic approach, but they have a hard time deciphering the consumer behavior information and figuring out how do we take that info to move forward. So that's a big part of your task when you're doing more client work and serving as a consultant. Instead of selling who you are and asking for money as an investment, in this case, you're really going to them and say, we would like to take over your campaign work. We know who you are and we want to do some short-term project, or maybe we want to define your business processes, or maybe we want to figure out big, long-term marketing concepts such as what is your brand, what is our mission and vision, where are we going with long-term plans to build brand equity. So the key thing here is when you're imagining a scenario where you're not asking for money, but rather you're asking for permission to partner with them, you have a different tone, and you want to make sure that you really understand their landscape, and you show them we have a strategic way forward where we can work together. So finally, when we think about this from a standpoint of like, what are you doing to speak to a case study competition judge? Here's some specific things I want you to think about considering to work into your speech. First, you want to thank them at the beginning for their time, because it's always good to be gracious and show that you understand they're volunteering time and putting some effort into being here. You want to make sure that you address who you are. Don't just launch into your speech assuming that, oh, well, we're just a bunch of students giving a presentation. Your company should have a name. You should be able to identify what is your backstory. Even though this is kind of fictional, you need to kind of make something up. You really need to also explain to the judge who they are. These volunteer people that will be judging you, they're not going to necessarily know who you assume that the role that they are playing. So please make sure to address that to them and speak to them about it. You absolutely need to set up the purpose of this meeting. That kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning about, really make sure you have a clear agenda, making the best use of this time, but tell them in that one sentence, like, why are we meeting today? What do we hope to get out of our time together? That's very, very important. That should lead into a roadmap or an agenda where you're going to introduce specific areas in your presentation. If you have structure like that, it's so much easier for the judges to follow what you're saying. So you want to make their jobs easy, give them the structure that they need. I want you to avoid being too theoretical. There's nothing worse than having a presentation. Well, maybe this, and it could be this. And you get the idea like, okay, this kid's a great dreamer. They got lots of ideas and full of passion, but they have no business sense. They have no ability to kind of lock down and get this done. Your job is to be inspiring, have a little bit of that dreaming, but really have specific information, because that's going to reassure me that I can trust you and you have a good sense of what you're doing. I think you really want to highlight key ideas by putting them front and center. Too often, I'm not doing such a great job of this with this deck, because a lot of this type looks the same. So if I got a point I really want to make, you put it in the center. You make sure that it's easy for people to pick up on a key idea. When I'm doing like a marketing campaign, I always put the strategy there, because the strategy is that linchpin. It's the key idea that kind of holds all the information together. Guys, I'm sorry, I gotta stop because I do have a 5:30 class. Or is there thoughts so far?
There is one question inside the Q&A, but don't know if we have time for that.
In many ways, is the pitch the entire business plan? I think when you're making the pitch, you absolutely should be representing the entire business plan, but I would hope that before you've gotten to the point of putting your pitch together, you have kind of done the work and you've actually created a written framework. When we're doing the pitch, what we're basically doing is we're doing the sales component. We know our story. We're now taking our story in front of other people. I think the pitch is a great encapsulation and sales of the idea. But that idea is not something that we come up with on the spot. You really have to kind of do your homework, put it on paper, make sure the whole team commits to it and buys into it. Because otherwise, if you get into that pitch situation and you haven't done that work beforehand, you could be contradicting each other, and there's no greater way to kill your chances with a judge is if you do not seem like you're unified as a group.
All right. Well, we're right at the time of 5:30, and I know you have to go, but I know there's many questions coming along.
I'm happy to take more questions as they come in, and I can respond to people either in a follow-up session or by email.
Sounds good. If anyone else would like to type in any questions really quickly, you might only have one shot. So go ahead, post in the question if you have any about the pitch section. Do remember, it's like 40 points of the actual competition, so it is a large portion. So make sure you have all that taken in. Here's a. Will we be able to see the full rubric? Oh, that's a question for me, actually. The full rubric is on the website. So if you are curious about where you can find the rubric, you can jump on to the NBPC from College Leap website, and you go into the educational resources. And once you see educational resources, there should be a here button or two here buttons. And the second one, which says here is the full rubric for the first round and the regional round, click on that link, and you'll be able to see the entire rubric.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the chance to present to you all today. Please, if you do have further questions, if those can get forwarded to me, I'm more than happy to answer your questions and provide any help I can to help you give the best possible presentations in the competition. I wish you guys the best of luck, and thank you for your time today.
If I could have everyone stay on, so I'm going to make a quick announcement. But Kyle, thank you so much for your presentation. It was wonderful, and I really appreciate it.
Please have a nice day.
Take care. So we will be having another session on Friday. Friday will be led by myself, and Jay will be there as well. We're going to ensure that we answer any questions about the business deck. So after you've submitted the form and you've completed that and you have made it into the next round, we'll let you know. Make sure to jump onto the Friday session so that way we can explain to you a little bit about what exactly should you have on your presentation and what kind of details would be necessary in order to get the full amount of points. I believe if you have any more questions, we'll be sure to send that over to you guys. Hey, Jay, can you pull up Professor Kyle's email and then drop it into the chat for everyone?
Yes, I can do that.
All right, so if those who are curious about his email, please just look into the chat box and we'll drop it into there. Is College Leap NBC related to UC Berkeley undergrad, graduate hospice business? Actually, that might be a question for Jay. But from my knowledge from the NBC, it is actually led by a UC Berkeley or undergrad or, well, graduate for business. So this entire organization is associated and affiliated with UC Berkeley organizations.
Yeah, I might need to make a little
Go
bit
for it. I tried my best.
Yeah, yeah. So we are College Leap is not affiliated with UC Berkeley or Haas. We are founded by UC Berkeley undergrad transfer student, and our first chapter, College Leap at UC Berkeley, is a registered student organization and sponsored by the ASUC Associated Students at UC Berkeley at UC Berkeley. But we are not representing the college, the university, or the high school business in any way. And I think that I make that pretty clear on our website. Yep. Thanks for bringing it up. But that's a very important clarification I need to make sometimes.
No worries. It's always interesting when organizations and stuff on campus and where they all like blend in together. But yeah, also for anyone who is curious for the pitch portion, I would definitely take into account that will be very integral. A lot of the stuff that was stated during this presentation I have to agree with, because for one, do take into account that you may not be the person that's going first when the judges are most attentive. You may be going last, and that will be notified way ahead of time. However, if you are that unfortunate soul, then you do have to remember the judges have watched several presentations, so always make a call to action and get them interested in what you're presenting. That way, they will vote you in. Because you know, you have to make the very most out of your presentation, since it's only 8 minutes and then 5 minutes for a portion from the judges. So it'll be very important that you guys are well-rounded for around that. And Jay, did you post the email into the chat? Yeah,
Doing it right now.
perfect. So we're gonna leave this open to 2 minutes or so that way you guys can copy down. If there's any questions about the competition at the moment, can I answer those? And 5 minutes to set up your presentation, 8 minutes for the actual presentation, and 5 minutes for the judges. Even if we thought through all the details, doesn't mean that investors will like the plan. In other words, usually the main source of disagreement. In terms of, I believe, the business presentation and the actual pitch. So for those who haven't actually talked to any investors before, you always need to have a business plan to invest into your business. Now, for a business plan, the actual version, that will only be saved for those who make it to the national. So do not worry about, making filing or making like a 6-page document about your business plan. We only are asking for the presentation for the first round, and when you get to the national round, that's when we're going to have there some of the business plan and what components you need in order to be successful in that. That's don't worry about the business plan as of right now. Just focus on and the presentation doc. Any other questions? If there are no more questions that you guys have, then I will hope to see you guys Friday. We can talk about the information that you guys should have on your guys' page. Oh, actually, there's one more. Are the judges looking for profitability, or does the entrepreneurship and nonprofit have a chance as well? So essentially, I would go into it with the mindset of it doesn't matter if you're a for-profit or you're non-for-profit. What really matters is the product and your ability to produce the product or service. So more or less focus less on is your company going to be financially stable, and they're just looking, is this idea going to warrant the amount of money that you guys are asking for, or essentially the idea if it's going to stay afloat for at least 5 years-ish, with your just general plan. So just convince them that you can do it well. Don't worry too much about profitability. Just make sure you stay afloat. And if you are a for-profit, then by all means aim for some good profitability. But that should never always be the primary goal of a for-profit, anyways. Can you explain how the rounds will go? What if there are more than 6 groups registered for a college? So for the rounds, essentially what's going to happen at this competition is that you are all going to be present during the first round, all those who signed up and pretty much passed the screening round will be jumped into the very first round. Then we will send you an email, and it will be kind of containing the details of where it's going to be, as well as what number you will be or where your signups are. So that way you can sign up for about 15 minutes so you can do your presentation. And once you sign up, we'll want you to wait until you get to your point in time. So if you're presenting at 6:15, but the competition starts at 6, you can wait along to make sure that you're not jumping in and listening to everyone. Or actually, quick change on that. So I want you guys to all jump on when the competition starts, so that way we can do our introductions and make sure you're in the right place. And then once after that, we'll give you a message saying or that you need to jump off the call and wait till your allotted time so that way you can do your presentation. This is because we don't want you guys to sit in and watch on other people's presentations and get ideas and write them down. That would kind of be, unfair for those who are going first, and then those who are in the back would get more of an advantage. So we will definitely notify you and let you know what's going to happen for that. Please invite your friends too. There is an audience portion that we are delivering out to people. So if you would like, make sure you have a couple of people there to support you, help you out. But then again, it's always about sending the very best from your college. You want your college name to be represented up there, not always just your name. So make sure you're inviting people over who will be fair about the other place or people as well. And what if there's more than 6 groups registering for one college? Well, we'll determine if we'll be able to have more time in order to screen more people and pass them along. There is a potential that we could take on around 8 people. However, we will do a screening round for all 6 still. And we'll see if we can take on 2 more depending on how the judges are feeling and how, where timings are going. So we will definitely let you know if we are taking more, if we're not. If we cannot, then of course we will send over an email to those that did, try to participate and say that we were not able to accept them. However, they will still get their participant, certificate from that as well. Will we be able to send other entry sessions as an audience? Of course. In fact, I encourage you guys to. We just don't want it to be unfair for your particular, but if you guys would like to watch in those sessions, then I do encourage that. That is completely fair because everyone has that opportunity to. So if you want to go in there, get an extra edge, or you want to just support other competition or other competitions, or if you want to, see what you're up against, then that's always all right to do. As long as the opportunities are fair amongst all the students within your particular session, then that's fair game. Any other lasting questions? Of course, I will be back on Friday too to answer more if any of them pop up. Will more than one team from one school get to go to the regionals? How many total rounds are there? So for the second question, there's a total of 3 rounds. The first round, which is the college round, which you guys will be participating within the 18 colleges that I believe we have signed up, 18 or 16. And then we have the open sessions as well. Only one team from those sessions will get to move on forward. So we will take 1 from every single college and then 1 from each of the open sessions that we're hosting. Those will be our people moving into the regional rounds. And after they get into the regional rounds, we'll take 2 from there and then onto the final round. Onto the final round, we'll have 6 teams plus 1, which will be the College Leap's most favorited pick, and they'll be able to move on to present 7 people at the national round, and you'll have 1 winner and 2 follow-ups. Will there be 1 more team? Okay, answer. What is the award for College Leap winner? Well, we have a fancy trophy for the first place winner of the national competition, as well as certificates that are signed by the College Leap organization. And there will also be additional support to help out with the people who would like to move forward. So you will have connections to all the people that we have gathered, so that way you can get additional help on your idea, and to make sure that you can get additional help if you're entering any other competitions. You'll definitely be posted and all over our social media, and you'll be hosted into our hosted into our Hall of Fame for the very first National Business Planning Competition winner of College Leap. Does a team of one person solo have an actual chance of winning? Yes. I would say I have seen one-person teams do incredible things. One person actually at a different competition completely swept an entire state competition. You do have an actual chance, but I'm going to be realistic with you and say that you are going to be putting this all together by yourself too. So do make sure that you are really good with your time management so that way you can kind of piece everything together and you can determine what is best. It will be difficult. I will definitely say that going in as one person is not an easy task, and I do recommend that you find people that you can trust and do this along with. However, if you're that determined to go in one person, then I can highly see a one-person team going into the national competition and winning it. You have more than enough time to put all your points together as long as you are good with your time management. There's not going to be a situation where you'll win when you did it last minute. Maybe teams of 5 people can do it last minute and still push ahead pretty far, but a team of one person really needs to be, ahead of the game. Answers that. Okay, perfect. All right, I believe that is the, can a person join our team after we've registered? So there is a form that you can sign up to in order to get a team. So if you are trying to register right now, then I recommend, and you're in a semester school, then I suggest that you put everything together really quickly, or you sign up on our opening, or what's it called? Our open team form. Jade, the open team form is on our website, correct?
Yes, and let me add on this question. So we actually you have 2 chances to add more team members. So after you registered, so we actually, I think in this hour, we just sent out the screening result for the Irvine Valley College session. So if you guys are from Irvine Valley College, you should get the screening round result by now. And then in that email, you will have a confirmation form. So then you can add new members or change members, swap members. So we'll take whatever you put on the confirmation form as the team in the first round. And then after the first round, if your team enter the regional round, we'll give you another chance to maybe recruit more members or swap members. And then, but after the regional round, after you fill in the Google form for regional round, then that team will stick with you for the entire competition. So you have 2 chances to make changes to our team member.
There you go. And then will the participant certificate for those who go into the regional rounds be different for those who haven't? So if you go to the regional round, then you're obviously winning an award for going to the regional round, which will be the first round. So you will receive an additional award. However, there is no different participation certificate for going to the regional round. However, if you won the first round, then you definitely stand out for sure. So I hope that kind of clears that question. And if we can't think of a company name right now, can we change it later on the submission form? Yes. So if you do a company change of name, all you have to do is just let us know by email. Shoot out an email to our point in contact with the person that will be sending you the Google Calendar invite. They will notify us and we'll just make the change for your company name. Do make sure that it's just, small changes. You can make alterations, like small alterations to what you originally put on the form. Like if you feel like your profitability is something that I realize I can't do this, or I don't think I'm going to make profit off this, or the market group I'm aiming for doesn't really work out, you can change that information. As long as you don't change your product or service very drastically, after submission and you get through the screening round, then we will have no problem at all with you guys changing up some information there. So definitely you can change your company name, you can change some of your other stuff, anything else for like that, just to make sure you have everything aligned. We want you to give the very best presentation. That's what's important to us. So small changes like that are completely fine. Can I participate even though I don't have a business idea? Well, you can definitely participate if you don't have a business idea, but I think it's best to always find someone who does have a business idea. For me, who's not really an entrepreneur, I've done these sorts of competitions before, but I always did it as someone that supported someone else that had a business idea. So that way we can kind of, teach or learn, and I can help them build out their idea. And I was actually the finance guy in that group. So yeah, you can definitely participate if you don't have a business idea, but I would say find someone that does, and then join them, and then bring them onto your team and push them to do this competition. That's the best answer I can give for that, because you definitely can't participate by saying, yeah, you have no clue what you're doing. But always best to find someone that does. All right. Is that the very last of all the questions that you have going on? Whew, I might be talked out then. All right. Well, we have another session on Friday. Make sure you guys attend that one. That one will be really important for those business decks that you have going on. I wish you guys the best of luck. Remember, those semester schools, your closing line is October 1st. And if you can't make October 1st, well, then I want you to reach out to me or anyone else on the College Leap team that you're getting contact from. You can reach out to us. If you really can't make October 1st as your deadline, then of course, I would always say, let us know and we'll take care of it from there. So if you have any problems, questions, just always reach out. And I will see you guys Friday. Do take care. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.